fliegen, and this is visit what? Wine with bubbles. Can the camera pick this up? It says white wine with bubbles. I'm good. Okay. Remember who you're talking to. I am not going to, okay, it's in a can. I'm not going to chug from the can. I've come prepared. I used to be a Boy Scout. That tastes like the devil's anus. You want to know how I know that? Hang around. Holy shit. We'll talk about that later. All right, thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for being here tonight. I cannot see how many people are in the audience, but I assume there's at least 2. I am Uncle Kage. I have been here at Megaplex before. There was a period of time where I was not able to get here, timing and crap like that, because of a very, very bizarre and twisted coincidence. The very, very fact that this COVID pandemic canceled so many other conventions freed up the time for me to come down here right now. So oddly enough, I'm here because of the COVID pandemic, which I guess probably means something. It still is not going to be cured by this shit, but it was worth a try. I tell stories, it's what I do. I get up on stage, they give me alcohol, as you can see, and I basically talk and I talk and I talk and I talk and I drink and I drink and I drink and I drink, not necessarily in that order until I fall down. And that is what you are here to see tonight. They fly me all over the world to do this, if you can imagine. I have been asked to go to France, to Germany, to England, to Canada, to the Czech Republic, to Japan. They didn't understand a word of it, but they loved it. Trust me. I am forever going to treasure a phone call I got from Australia. A fellow called Actic Pete called me up. And he said, yeah, we want you to come down here. I said, me, what for? He said, we want you to get drunk and fall down. I said, okay, I can do that, that's fine. Cheers. If you're going to be traveling around the world, you should know one phrase, and it is not, where is the bathroom? That is stupid. Yes, that's the second phrase you should know. Take it from a world traveler. There is a universal symbol. Just go up to anybody and do this. They'll understand. No, the phrase, especially for those from this culture that will get you anywhere in the world, is the local equivalent of, I am a stupid American and do not speak your language. A little self-deprecating humor goes a long way, trust me. In France, je suis le barbare américain, je ne parle pas français. In Germany, ich bin ein dummer Americano und ich spreche kein Deutsch. In the Czech Republic, Jusum bulbi Americana Nevemincheski. In Japan, boku wa baka na Amerikanji desu. Nihongo ga zenzen wakarimasen. Thank you. In Australia, I'm a Yank, fuck it. It will get you anywhere. So, here, as I was getting ready to come down to Megaplex for the first time in, 6 years, something like that, I was thinking, what stories can or should I tell? Because, I hate to say it, in the past 20 months, I haven't had any news stories. Gee, I wonder why. Probably because I have been sitting in my living room naked for the past 20 months. Like all of us. Although, okay, by the way, somebody, when I was telling this earlier in the evening and testing the line out, somebody said, "Do you have any pictures?" I said, "No, that's against the Geneva Convention at my age." And at my age, you hear the phrase, "at your age," a lot more often, believe me. So I thought, what can I talk about? This has been a year of plague, of pestilence, of medical information and misinformation. It has all been in the medical field. So I thought, okay, I'm going to collect all of the stories I have from the past 25 years of storytelling, which involves something hideous that has happened to me medically. So I hope you don't mind. You're going to be hearing a lot about the inside of my body, which some of you already know about. By which I mean you've been to story hours before. What were you thinking, you big asshole? Did you hear him back there? What the? So I'm going to begin by introducing you virtually to a man who was a tremendous inspiration to me in my youth. My family physician. I've only ever referred to him on stage as Dr. K. Some of you may have heard ancient stories of Dr. K. He was my family doctor from the time I was 16. They had just discovered bacteria then. Dr. K and I had an interesting sort of professional relationship, not just a patient-physician relationship. We were friends as well. Because he was a young doctor, I was a young scientist. And we had this ongoing tacit debate over which of us was entitled to be called doctor. This was my position. He is an MD. I am a PhD. I got more letters. I got more letters. By the way, this joke worked fine until I met Doc Rat. If you've ever seen the webcomic docrat.com from Australia, he is an actual physician in Melbourne, Australia. That son of a bitch has got 28 letters after his name. There's only 26 in the language. I think he made 2 of them up. He gave me his card. It's got a little goddamn slider in it for all the letters. But anyway, we would kind of needle back and forth over, he'd say, "How are you doing, Mr. Conway?" And I'd say, "Oh, how are you doing, Mr. K?" Because I enjoyed reminding him that it was not that long ago. It was not that long ago, a mere couple of centuries, that the learned natural philosopher was called doctor. The person that sliced into you and put leeches on you was called barber. I went in to see Dr. K one day because I had developed an interesting patterning on my skin, a rash, one might say. Being a learned natural philosopher as I am, I did some research. And I had discovered that I had a dreaded disease which typically is only seen in pregnant women in Bora Bora, but I had caught it because I'm a natural philosopher. I'd done my research. I recognize this disease when I see it. I went and I see Dr. K. I said, "Sir, I have got this dreadful, horrible disease, and you are going to have to prescribe this, and I'm going to have 6 days off of work, and et cetera, et cetera." And he listened to all this, and he nodded sagely. He said, "Yes, I see. May I ask some questions?" I said, "Ask me your questions, Bridgekeeper. I am not afraid." Some of you know that one. That's very good. He said, "Tell me, The weather of late, would you describe it as having been moist or dry? I said, well, it's been decidedly dry the past few weeks. He said, I see. Do you suspect that concurrent with the dry weather, your skin may also have become dry? I said, well, it does stand to reason. He said, I see. I have a counter proposal to your diagnosis. My diagnosis is that you have contracted a medical condition that we refer to as dry skin. I advise you put some Vaseline on it. I said, no problem, I have a lot of that at home. Because I have dry skin. Where are your minds? Thank you very much. However, that rash did not get better. As a matter of fact, it got rather rapidly worse. I was excited. I had to go in and see Dr. K. I was sitting there, oh boy, my arm's gonna fall off, but I can see Dr. K. Doctor came in, and I said, look, dude, look. He did this. He said, oh, it hasn't gotten any better. I said, nope. He said, in fact, it's gotten quite a lot worse. I said, yeah. He said, would it appear that my initial diagnosis may perhaps have been erroneous? I said, no. It was what? It was what? He said, erroneous. I said, no, it was wrong. I'd like to hear you say it. Your diagnosis was wrong, Mr. MD, with your 2 letters. Tell you what, just a little off the top today, all right? Dr. K listened to this quietly and professionally as I riffed on him. He is always a very, very quiet and professional man. And then he turned around and pulled something from a drawer. I said, is this medically necessary? He said, oh, absolutely. You need this. I said, well, I do believe I have a right to a second opinion. He said, not a problem. Do not for one moment get into your heads that I have anything but the highest respect for Dr. K. I adore the man. I respect him professionally. He is an incredible physician. He has, and I will attest, he has the hands of Hippocrates himself. But take it from me, Hippocrates had some fucking big knuckles. I can still feel it. Sorry. Anyway, where was I? Oh, yes. I mentioned that they fly me all over the world. Oh, look at the old guy bragging up there. They fly me all over the world. Yeah. I was flying one day in an aircraft, of course, and I woke up, as one does, yes. I happened to wake up after a wonderful night of slumber, if you believe that. And the strangest thing, you know how sometimes you have like an eye booger and your eye's all like blurry because you have an eye booger in it? Well, my whole left eye was blurry, and I kept doing this, but I couldn't get it to go away. And it was kind of getting a little bit annoying because literally the entire left side of my vision was like a fog was over it. And it was, this may require attention. So when I got back, I first called my eye doctor. who coincidentally was also Dr. K. And I said, well, okay, this is funny. I woke up and my entire left side of my vision is all blurry. He got very attentive. He said, are you having any trouble speaking? I said, well, not right now. Give me half an hour. He said, I think you should go see your physician. I said, you mean Dr. K #1? He said, yes. I said, well, why? This is an eye problem. And he said, well, it can be a lot of things. I said, you guys are in cahoots, aren't you? He said, I'll tell you what. Let me put it this way. Shut up and call Dr. K now. I said, or else what? He said, or I'll tell your mom. Oh, okay, here I go. If you ain't met my mom, you'll know why that's a threat. So I called up Dr. K. He agreed to see me right away. And I was sitting in the office. Dr. K came in. He came in and said, what seems to be the trouble? I said, well, sir, I'm going blind. He said, your mother was right. I said, yes, she was. Can you help me with it? He said, you're not my type. By the way, I don't make my stories up. All these are true. Trust me, I couldn't make it up if I wanted to. So he ran a battery of tests. He took like 18 pints of blood out of me. He gave me x-rays and MRIs and CAT scans and dog scans and wolf scans and fox scans, you name it. This guy took fluids out of me I didn't even know I had. He took fluids out of me I hadn't used in 25 years. And he said I wasn't his type. All of these tests, it took days. And finally, he called me in and he sat me down and he said, I have my diagnosis, DFN. I said, DFN? What's DFN? He said, damn fine, no. To this day, it is still unclear, but apparently my left eye just kind of blew up one day. Here's something a lot of you guys may not know. I can't see the audience over here. That's just a little something I thought I'd share with you. If everything from here down is like 100% drunk all the time, that's why I drink, to keep my vision even. My profession as a chemist rarely sends me places, but I managed to convince the company I was working for years ago to send me to the United Kingdom to audit some laboratories with whom we were going to be working. And here I'm going to be telling a story that I run the risk of hitting too much of a technical aspect. I'm going to ask your indulgence. If this doesn't work, I do apologize. I'll go through it quickly. I was to visit 7 laboratories in the United Kingdom in 6 days. Yeah, it's like, okay, we're going to send you over there, but this is no vacation for you. So, of course, that's what they said. I did 2 a day and then just kind of goofed off for the rest of the week. But the first laboratory I went to, it was an experience. It was in what looked like an old castle. When you think of a laboratory, you think of sterile, your cubes of concrete and everything. No, this was like Dr. Frankenstein's castle. It was incredible. And I went in and they were explaining to me all of their procedures. You see, I'm in a regulated industry. And one of the things that's very, very important is record keeping. When you write something down, the very second that ink hits the paper, it becomes law. And if you have to correct it, there's a very, very specific procedure. You can't obliterate it. You've got to make sure you can see what it used to say. If I have to correct something here, I just draw one line through it so you can still read it. I write what it's supposed to say, and then I have to explain why I crossed it out. I fucked up is not good enough. I have to explain why I fucked up. I fucked up. I came to work drunk. Initialed and dated. I've actually written that. In a job that for some reason I was fired from, but that's a different story for another day. I went to visit this laboratory in the castle, and the lady brought out the book where they kept the records of all the incoming samples. We use computers over here in this country, not in the old country. She had this leather-bound ledger that looked like it was printed in the 15th century. This monstrous thing, 18 inches thick, but you bound with human skin and everything. And she opened up and she was very, very proudly showing me every sample that comes in gets entered here, and we give it a unique number and we can track it, and we have full of this and that and this and that. And I was staring at the book while the lady was extolling its virtues, and I thought, do I say something? I probably should, because that's kind of why I'm here. She finished, and I said, is this whiteout covering all the entries on this page? Have you ever heard the expression, somebody's face draining of color? It's not a poetic expression. I watched it happen. This lady went from rosy-cheeked and happy to pale in a second. Just bam! I love the British. She looked at this. She closed the book and said, I beg your pardon. I'm off to have a word with someone. And here I was, the visiting auditor from the United States, wanting to do business with this lab, and all the staff there, and they're all looking horrified. And I said, could I have some more tea? They said, oh yes, yes, absolutely. I hired that lab. That was the lab I picked. Do you know why? Because you can be damn sure they're not going to have any fuck-ups when I'm involved. See, I'm not as dumb as I look. I couldn't possibly be. But while I was there, I ended the trip. I started south, headed north to Scotland. I wish I'd known Fox some more back then. That would have been grand. But I ended it in Edinburgh. And of course, if you're in Edinburgh and you've done 2 labs a day and you've got time to kill, you're going to be a tourist. So I went to Edinburgh Castle. Somebody's been there. I had met a Scottish furry who said, you've got to see Edinburgh Castle, especially the 1 o'clock gun. And I said, why? He said, because it's cool. That's enough reason for me. The 1 o'clock gun, an interesting tradition in Edinburgh. At the hour of 1 o'clock, they fire a cannon so that both the people in the town and ships out in the harbor will be able to circumcise their clocks, whatever the hell you do, at 1 o'clock. Thank you. Thanks, I blame alkali. Anyway. English is not my native language. Philadelphian is my native language, okay? Thank you very much. You got a problem with that, you can fuck off, okay? Yo, give me a cheesesteak. Anyway. Naturally, I'm an American tourist, and I'm standing there watching this whopping great piece of British field artillery as this very, very proper, you love the Brits with their thing they do there. The only people who do it better is the Germans. Trust me. I mean, the Germans are like, eins, zwei, eins, zwei, eins, zwei, eins, zwei, and that's the kindergarten teachers. This guy comes out with a stopwatch. And he's standing next to this cannon watching the stopwatch, and it all just looks very placid, like he's an old man, and all of a sudden, boom! You can feel the concussion, it knocks you back on your ass. And everybody looks at their watch and says, oh yes, 1 o'clock, there you go. But me being an American tourist, I had to ask the question that every single idiotic Yank tourist has asked since time immemorial. I went up to this gentleman, Sergeant Thomas Mackey, his name. And I went up, Sergeant Mackey, excuse me, may I ask, everywhere else in the world, it's the hour of 12 noon. That is marked. We sound sirens off in my country. Elsewhere, they do things that this is the hour of noon. Why 1 o'clock? And with practiced grace, he said, oh, we're Scottish, laddie. If we did it at 12, we'd have to waste 12 shells. Here's to you, Sergeant Mackey. I was staying in a hotel in Edinburgh, in the new part of town. That's what they call it, the new part of town. It was built in the 14th century. That's the new town. And I woke up, and I crawled out of bed, and I went into the bathroom. I was brushing my teeth, and I happened to look in the mirror and was startled, which happens when you get old, but I was particularly startled because not this eye, but this one looked very, very different. It was completely blood red from inside to outside, like this brilliant, screaming, glowing crimson red, like an anime villain. And I looked in the mirror and I said, well, that's cool. I'm fairly certain it didn't look like that when I went to bed. It felt fine. It's like, wow, boy, I could definitely get a job in Japan this way. This is great. But I should probably have it looked at. So I put on my nice business attire, as I always wear when I travel, and I went down to the front desk. And there was a nice, charming lady at the front desk, and I said, I beg your pardon, miss, is there a medical clinic or something similar that might be open at this hour that I could go to visit? And she looked at me aghast, and she said, this wouldn't be about your eye, would it? I said, no, it's my wrist. What's wrong with my eye? I couldn't resist. So she told me that the Mayfield Clinic, you should go to the Mayfield Clinic. She gave me an address and she called a taxi for me. And the taxi showed up. I love taxis in the UK. They're like these little black beetles you crawl into. It's amazing. You've seen them on the movies? That's what they really look like. I got in the taxi and I sat down. I said, the Mayfield Clinic, please. And the driver looked in the rearview mirror and said, this wouldn't be about your eye, would it? I said, you're a very observant man. I commend you for that. Yes, that's where I'd like to go. So he drove me along, and we stopped next to a building that had been completely gutted. It was a shell with nothing inside. And I said to the driver, Mayfield Clinic? He said, well, this is the address. So I said, it's not what I expected. I always thought Britain had better medical care than this. So I got out, and there was a man walking his dog. I said, excuse me, sir, can I trouble you? I'm wondering where the Mayfield Clinic is. And he said, this wouldn't be about... Just tell me where the fucking clinic is, okay, Gramps? Just tell me! Apparently they'd moved. They were around the block some distance. So I walked around the block, thanked the taxi driver, paid him, walked around the block. There it was, the new Mayfield Clinic. And I walked in, and I went up to the lady and I said, hello, I'd like to see a doctor, please. Yes. She asked me to have a seat, so I sat. Didn't do this. Even though it was Scotland. And I waited, and the lady said, Mr. Conway, yes. She said, Dr. K will see you new. I said, seriously? She said, yeah, he's waiting for you inside. I said, Dr. K. He came all this way, just... So I went in. To my great disappointment, it was a different Dr. K. If I were to say to you, Scottish physician, the image in your mind is what showed up. This roly-poly Santa Clausy guy with a giant white beard and a twinkle in his eye and a glass of whiskey in his hand came in and said, oh, I'm Dr. K. Sit down. Let me see what we got here. Right, look up, look down, now look to the left. Oh, just as I thought, it's just your average subconjunctival hemorrhage. It'll go away on its own, pay the lady on the way out, 50 quid. I said, well, is there anything I need to do? He said, nay, it'll go away on its own, 50 quid, pay the lady on the way out. So I went out and I paid the lady on the way out, gave her my 50 quid. Finished up my trip. The last part of my trip was a train ride down to London, and then a ride on the London tubes to the airport at rush hour. Picture, if you will, this face in a black trench coat with a black fedora with a screaming, glowing red eye, sitting in a seat on the underground, and someone would sit next to me and I would just turn and look and they'd get up and move. I had my own private little bubble all the way to Gatwick Airport. When I came back, I had to tell Dr. K about this. And he said, how much did they charge you? I said, 50 quid. He said, at the time that was about $125. He said, they gave you a bargain. I said, a bargain? Why? I said, well, you're a pain in the ass. We normally charge you 3 times. This is why I love the man. By the way, stop me if I'm getting close to my time. I don't even know what the hell time it stops.
Keep going.
I will.
What if we keep flat so you keep going?
Donate, he won't shut up.
You won't leave. Yeah.
I'll keep going. Years and years and centuries and decades and minutes ago, I was a young man. And I went to bed one night, which I do frequently. I went to bed. Now, I was young, and I'd been up late watching movies, and I'd been eating some cake. You're a kid, you're less than 50, you're a kid. You're less than 30, you're a fetus, okay? Anyway, I had been eating some cake in bed, and I put the fork and the knife somewhere, I don't know. And I brushed my teeth, and I was drunk out of my skull, and I went to sleep. Somewhere around 5 in the morning, I woke up with a pain in my back right here, a level of which I had never experienced before, and in fact had never really been able to conceptualize before. Because I'm a scientist, that was my thought process. This is incredible. I'm feeling a level of pain that I never thought possible. I thought that I'd left the fork in the bed and rolled over on top of it. But there was nothing sticking out of my back, although it felt like there was. I couldn't think of what to do. It's frickin' 5 a.m. The only thing I could think was to call a friend of mine who was a chef who's up early every morning. I called him. Turned out it was his day off. I feel bad about that to this day. Chris was his name. I called Chris, and the phone conversation sounded something like this. Chris, it's Sam. I hate to bother you. Do you think maybe you could come take me to the hospital? Chris lived about 7 miles away. He was there in 4 minutes. That's a friend, folks. He was a big, brawny bear of a man. And I'm in my apartment on my hands and knees because I couldn't even stand up. He literally picked me up, threw me over his shoulder, carried me to his car, put me in the back seat, drove me to the hospital. Carried me into the hospital in his arms. They put me on a gurney and sent me into the room. And they started asking me questions. You know, has this ever happened before? I think I'd remember if it had. Can you describe the pain? Would you like a paragraph or just one word? The lady said, just one word. I said, okay. They took an x-ray of me. They took all sorts of samples. And the doctor came in and he said, we believe you have a kidney stone. Some of you know about that, I can tell. Let me tell you about a kidney stone. When I say stone, you think of a little round object like a BB or something like that, a rock. No. A kidney stone looks like a sea urchin. It's got little spikes sticking off of it in every direction. It's this big going through a tube this big, and this thing is basically macheting its way through your body trying to find a way out. And you can feel it every inch of the way. I was writhing in agony. I was trying to be zen about it, but there is no zen when there is a red-hot sea urchin chewing its way out of your guts. And I was whimpering and crying and begging them just to kill me.
Not enough wine for that.
There's not enough wine for that. A nurse came in. They put an IV into me and just opened it up and started fluids going in. Okay, this thing is working its way down. It's already working its way down. We're just going to force it through the rest of the way. Let's load your body up with fluids, and it'll be like, remember one of those games you used to play with, like a little rocket in the yard? That was what they're going to do with the kidney stone. But it hurt. But then the lady comes in with a 50 milliliter syringe with a clear liquid in it. What?
We have a medical issue, a medical issue.
Oh, what? Excuse me? Sorry, what's going on here? Hang on, hold on. Back up, please, back up. I'm sorry, what's going on, sir?
Okay, this is a paramedic here? Perfect.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we have medical assistants here. Please stay back, we're gonna let this take care of itself, okay? All right, terribly sorry. Here I am talking about horrible medical things. It is being seen too. Anyway, I didn't feel that bad. They came at me with this 50 milliliter syringe and they stuck it into the IV, and I watched the lady ram the plunger home. And in the course of about 3 seconds, the pain became abstract. It became somebody else's pain. It was over here. I was here, the pain was there. I was an observer to it. When the stone finally passed, they came and said, "Are you in any more pain?" And I said, "No." I mean, yes, I'd like some more of that, please. If you have a 6-pack, can I have it to go? But they said no. I was sent home, and I thought, well, the first thing I should do is call my boss and tell him I'm not going to be into the lab today. So I called my boss, and I said, "Hey, boss, it's Sam. I'm not going to come in today." And he said, "Yes, I know. You're in the hospital with a kidney stone." I said, "Oh, who told you?" He said, "You did." I said, "When?" He said, "About 4 hours ago." I said, "Are you sure it was me?" He said, "Oh, I'm pretty sure it was you. I recognize your voice." I said, "Well, what did I say?" He said, "Hey, boss, it's Sam. I have a kidney stone." I said, "Yeah, that was probably me." So, they gave me this little strainer. I said, "What's this for?" And they said, "You know. We want the stone." I said, "But it's mine. I made it." They said, "But we want it." All right. Let me tell you an interesting thing about kidney stones. You can't predict when they're going to make their appearance. Once they roll through that little spaghetti tube into that, big old dining room there, they're just going to hang out. And they're going to wait until you don't expect them. You wake up in the morning, it's like, nope, not today. It's always when you don't know it's coming. I'm talking about a sea urchin the size of a lima bean. Gentlemen, just think about it. Making its appearance. That was the first one. That was the very first one. All is well, folks. Thank you very, very much. And especially thanks to the staff for being very, very quick to take care of that. Incidentally, did you notice the convention chairman instinct? "Oh, I'm gonna go take care of this." Not my fault, not my problem, not my con. These guys got it under control. Thank you very much. It's not just me. It is not just me, by the way. A couple of years ago, I attended BronyCon in I'm sorry? What do you mean, Hang on, hold on, hang on. I want to make sure I understand this. I want to make sure I understand this. I just mentioned BronyCon and I heard, So let me make sure I understand what you're saying. You're saying that you think that bronies are like, because bronies, they're into something that you don't understand and you think it's childish and that makes them losers. Is that familiar to you, Fluffy? You're the last fucking person ought to be picking on them. Grow up. Where was I? Oh yes, BronyCon. The organizers of BronyCon they realized that they had the chairman of most of the major conventions in the world. They had a Worldcon chair, they had an Anthrocon chairman there, they had San Diego Comic-Con there, they had Emerald City Comic-Con there. So they basically organized a luncheon for all of the chairs of the major conventions, and there were about 25, 26 of us. It was lovely. They had us all in this nice room with tables, with tablecloths on them and a plated lunch, and it was so swanky. We were all trying to, out-professional each other. Oh yes, I'm an Anthrocon, the city of Pittsburgh. Oh, you're San Diego Comic-Con. I imagine San Diego likes you as much as, oh, they don't? Oh, well, Pittsburgh's a lot better than San Diego, isn't it? Yeah. And we're going on like that. Meanwhile, sitting on a table near the door was a radio. It was BronyCon's chairman's radio. And we're all sitting there trying to impress each other. And in the middle of luncheon, an alarm went off on the radio. And BronyCon's chairman grabbed the radio and ran out, and every single one of us ran after him. And I was the one who said, no, wait, no, sorry. If you can't see it, I'm wearing a button. It says, not my fault, not my problem, not my con. How much time do I have left?
5 minutes.
I have 5 minutes.
One more story.
Okay, one more story. I got a bunch more, but I'll skip to the end.
We got time. One more bottle of wine.
Question for everybody. Okay, actually, I have a question. Speaking of wine stream, are there any of my Patreon patrons in the audience tonight? I see one here in the front row. Hang on. Who the hell are you? How about the guy, is there one back there? You one of my Patreon patrons?
Yes, sir.
You give me money?
Yes, sir. $1.
That's good enough. I'm supposed to give this to people. Here, take that thing. What? I'll take this though, thank you very much. All right. By the way, I have got a doctorate in chemistry from Dartmouth. Thank you. I was going to give you another 30 seconds on that one. Would you say that makes me smart? Oh, yeah, debatable.
Smart. Makes you educated.
Makes me educated. Back when I was studying for my PhD, I was at Dartmouth in the White Mountains of New Hampshire. And it was a late summer night, a steamy, foggy summer night in New Hampshire. It was after midnight. I was working late in the lab as grad students are going to do. That's our life. I don't remember what it was that led me to go out to my car. There was something in my car that I needed, and that is lost to history. But whatever it was big and bulky. It was in the back seat of my car, and I ran out. It's like 12:30 a.m., and I went and I got this thing out, and I went to kick the door shut. Those of you who remember the ancient word sniglet, there is a sniglet for that instant where the door is closing and your brain is saying the keys are on the seat. And you want to be a ninja. You want to instantaneously reach and grab the door, but it is already swinging, and it makes that very final chunk. And you look through the window, and there are your keys on the passenger seat, and you try the handle. I ran around to the driver's side. I had an old Pontiac Le Mans then. Maybe the hatchback mysteriously broke and just said, oh shit. And I looked back through the passenger side. They're so close, I can see them. They're right there. Oh, what do I do? I will call the police. I will call the police. The police will help me, right? I called, it's fucking 12:30 a.m. What locksmith's going to be working? I called the Hanover police. Hanover police officer came out. Okay, this is the 1980s in Hanover, New Hampshire. This nice old, actually I think it was Dr. Kage from Scotland comes out. Big, he comes out, he's got this kind of walk, because he's carrying all this extra here. I said, hello, officer, I need your help. He says, yep, seems to be the trouble. I said, well, if you look, you will see my keys on the seat there, and I cannot open the door. And he said, Those are your keys? I said, yes, sir. He said, this your car? I said, yeah, I can prove it. Once we can open it, I can show you the owner's card. He said, And you can't open the door. I said, you're starting to catch on. That's why I called you. I want you to help me get my keys out of the car. He said, oh, those keys? Yes. He said, this car? Yes. He said, I can get them for you. I said, if you would be so kind, please do. She said, all right. And he reached through the open window and picked up the keys and handed them to me. I said, you must think I'm an idiot. He said, well, you said it, sir. I said, yeah. He said, is there anything else I can do for you? I said, well, no, you've done quite a lot. Actually, there is one thing. Is there anything that I can do that would keep you from telling all the other officers about this when you get back to the station? He said, no, sir. I've gone 2 minutes overtime. That's probably enough for anybody. I want to thank you all for your very, very kind attention. It's been 6 years since I've been on stage at Megaplex, and it feels good to be back. Thank you all very, very much.